President Cyril Ramaphosa characterized the unusual resumption of the party's national conference as the ANC traversing uncharted territory and is calling for cooperation and patience from attendees. He also said that South Africa was looking to the conference to set out a very clear and credible program of action that would directly address the crisis confronting the party. Political analyst Sandile Swana joins me now to look into the outcomes of the conference and the expectations of the annual January the 8th statement being convened in Mangaung in the Free State this weekend. Good evening and welcome to you, Sandile. Thank you very much for your time. In a moment or two, we'll hear what Fikile Mbalula, the SG, has to say on some of those outcomes. But a clear signal the ANC president said was needed to show voters that the party is taking every necessary step to deal with the challenges facing them, including poverty, inequality, crime and instability. Did you get the sense so far in everything that you've observed and seen that that objective has been achieved?
Iman, good evening. I am not convinced that the ANC is now on track to deal with these issues. Remember that these statements and these reports, for instance, the January 8th statement that is comes up every 12 months. Whatever they've now done in these 5 years, it's supposed to be a 5-year review, and a lot of things have already gone wrong. And they've gone wrong because a lot of the times the wrong people have been in office, mismanaging municipalities, mismanaging the economy. And to take those people out of the ANC and out of government departments and out of full-time jobs that they've been given as deployees of the ANC is not going to be an overnight matter. Secondly, we have not seen the detailed plans as to what is the budget, what are the timelines, which human resources are going to be used to achieve those objectives, what is their skills level. So that lack of detail, that always foggy approach to life of the African National Congress remains, to my mind, it remains even now.
And then there's this concept of, new wine, old skins. In response to a question from our reporter to Pule Mabe not so long ago about some of the problems in the very Mangaung where this January 8th statement is going to be delivered, Mabe said, this is a new NEC, this is a new leadership, give them a chance, and was reminded that, in fact, they were there in Mangaung again 10 years ago, talking about similar problems. There seems to be this sort of engraved inertia in being able to really, credibly tackle problems and make change. What's your sense, and it really ties into this concept of what the president said, the ANC's policies remain relevant, they're appropriate, and the challenge is, is to implement them. In your view, is the ANC stuck in a time warp?
The notion that the ANC has got good policies and they fail in implementation is not supported by evidence. Just one simple example, today, Mapaila of the South African Communist Party ripped into the ANC mercilessly for adopting the neoliberal policies of frugality, austerity, and so on and so forth, and including privatization of certain aspects of ESCOM through the IPPs. So that neoliberal thinking shows you that the ANC does not have the capacity to generate endogenous African ideas, African solutions to African problems that are rooted in the communities that actually solve the problems. There is no unique solution to the ESCOM crisis because overall, over time, the intellectual capacity of the African National Congress and the average leader and the average member of the African National Congress has deteriorated substantially.
Well, the party says, among other things, Sandile, that it's resolving to stop factionalism and disunity. And given the public opposition within the ANC's ranks to Ramaphosa in the lead up to that conference, including vote buying confirmed by seniors, including Chairperson Gwede Mantashe, how much of what the president says is real and believable?
This is railroading. This is Stalinism, where people are going to be exposed to two things. One, there's going to be an approach driven by Mantashe and Balula, which is the iron fist and the sword, that you either comply or something very unfortunate is going to happen to you. Then the other one will be the velvet glove, the iron fist in the velvet glove, driven by Ramaphosa. When he says he's going to apply his mind to the cabinet reshuffle, clearly certain people who played a crucial role to make him win this conference, etc., have to be rewarded with ambassadorships and cabinet posts and all sorts of things. So there is no unity. Unity is about agreeing with Ramaphosa and the Ramaphosa-Mbalula Mantashe faction of the African National Congress.
And here's the other question, as you keep hearing this echo around, unity and doing away with factionalism, really focusing on the task at hand, listening to communities. What's your sense on whether this party, can change overnight?
This party is not going to change overnight. I mean, you mentioned Mangaung. The people you mentioned there, the leaders there, the likes of Mxolisi Sionzana, who leads the one faction, and Thabo Manyoni, they've been there for a very, very long time, and in factions for the longest time, and promoting non-compliance, poor governance, to the extent that the municipality is under national administration, which is a historic development in itself, at a time when the ANC is losing metros. So there is no overnight. They are entrenched. Even when Mantashe is boasting that Cala, where he comes from, is a better town. That is where the Ntsebeza brothers come from, Tumisa Ntsebeza and Lungisile Ntsebeza, and I've worked with them in aspects of those municipalities. It's a total chaos. And the people, ordinary people, citizens, are ruled out of the affairs of the municipality, excluded. And that happens all over South Africa where the ANC is in charge. So in the next 18 months, they are not going to be able to change that before the election, the 2024 election.
Sandile, again, in taking both, the recent view, which is the events over December and now in January in respect of the national conference, and what we've heard in the lead up to that conference about, multiple sites of emergency and crisis in the country. Did you expect the party to double down, get into urgency mode, allow the country crisis to eclipse, what's happening internally in the party?
If I was a leader of the ANC, I would not go into any crisis mode. This thing that we're now calling a crisis has been building up over since the Polokwane conference. For instance, the DA tried to put us into crisis mode by recalling Ramaphosa from his overseas trip when the load shedding was getting worse in South Africa. He left here when there was load shedding. He went overseas, load shedding continued and was getting worse. Came back and load shedding actually got worse. My suspicion is that it is actually getting worse when he is present in the country. He has no actual solution to load shedding. The ANC has not been able, regardless of how many hours they've spent in the conference, to say this is the date when the lights will come on and come on permanently and load shedding will be finished. They are not able. I don't expect them to say that on the 8th of January. So when you talk about the many crises, hospitals, all over the show, there are crises. Those crises are because you have wrong people in the wrong positions across the state. So no matter how you want to do it, it's going to take years and years of firing people and removing them from the wrong positions that they are occupying. It's not, there's no overnight solution.
And yet, Sandile, the message is consistent. It is, we are aware that to kind of put it into common parlance, is we're aware that, we kind of messed up. We're going to get our stuff together. No more factional fighting. Our focus really is on unity and renewal. We want to convince South Africa we are still the best ticket for the country. Given that has always been the position, and you talked about the January 8th statement, and in a sense you'll hear similar themes throughout every January the 8th statement, what are you expecting this weekend to hear from the ANC?
Without question, the biggest topic from Cyril Ramaphosa on the 8th of January will be what he has got to say about electricity supply in South Africa. It will include how he wants to accelerate the IPPs, which we know are not enough to end load shedding. We will expect him to take a leaf from his prime minister, quote unquote, Gwede Mandashe, to say, no, let's have a mixed technology. Let's have the nuclear. Let's also have the coal. Let's buy other emergency supplies. And let's do the repair and revamping of those power stations. So there will be something about that. The issue about women, which the ANC is emphasizing, he will speak about that, but I do not think there is any short-term solution in a culture where the abuse and killing of women is the norm. It's a long-term problem where some of the NEC members have been implicated even in those issues. The other issue is the economy and the so-called social combat, which he has not been able to launch to conclude in the past 12 months anyway. So to me, those will be the key touchstones that he will be highlighting on Sunday.
And we'll have you back, I'm sure, to discuss those developments. Thank you for your time and your analysis, Sandile Swana there.